Welcome back to 8 Metal Strings! Today's video is all about the harmonic minor scale. It is the third and final video of the basic scale shapes on the 8-string guitar, in which I give you guys basically the scale diagrams for how to play these scales on 8 strings. If you haven't checked out those first two videos, they are about the major scale and the melodic minor scale on the 8-string guitar, and I'll link them just with this little eye up here in the corner for you to check out. Like those first two videos, I have made the PDFs of all the scale shapes available free for you to download in the description below. Feel free to print them off, put them on your music stand, draw on them, color on them, do whatever you have to do to help you learn these scales if that's something you're working on. We're going to briefly check out what is in the PDFs, and then we're going to look at a little exercise, because as always, I don't like to just provide raw material without anything actually practical to do with it. And today's exercise is a little bit different. It's more of a beginner-friendly exercise. Often these exercises I provide are kind of advanced or intermediate level, but I wanted to give you something that will help you out, especially if you're just getting started on the A-string guitar, and if you are still learning the names of the notes on the neck. So with that said, let's check out what's actually in these PDFs that I've made. So the first PDF is going to have the 5 core positions of the harmonic minor scale on the neck. One thing to note about the harmonic minor scale, like the melodic minor, it doesn't always fit perfectly in these positions on the guitar neck. This is because of that augmented second between the 6th and 7th scale degree. As a result, we have to do a lot of little stretches or position shifts in order to grab those notes that sit just outside the comfortable finger range. I have made some decisions about what I like to do, but there are many more options and ways you can play this scale. For example, I like to often stretch back with my index finger when I'm ascending a scale in order to grab a note that's outside of the position, and reach with my pinky when I'm descending a scale. You might like to do something different, and that's totally okay. So just be aware that these positions that I've written out on the PDF are not the only way to do these things, and you might need to make little adjustments to suit your hands. One recommendation I'll make though is to try to figure out how you like to play these scales in these positions earlier than later. Once you decide on your preferred fingering, stick with it, and don't let anybody tell you it's wrong. You can waste a lot of time trying to figure out how to do all of these scales and all of the possible combinations on guitar. That's one of the cool things and difficult things about guitar. And I think I wasted a lot of time in my early days practicing because I thought somebody else would want me to play it differently. Decide what you want to do, stick with it, whatever it is, it's good enough. The second PDF I've given you is the 3 notes per string version of the scale. Now this one worked really well on major and melodic minor. It seems to fit super well, super comfortably for the scale, and let you fly horizontally or diagonally across the neck with ease. Unfortunately, the harmonic minor scale makes things a little bit more challenging because of that augmented second between that 6th and 7th, like I mentioned earlier, and so there's kind of an awkward stretch sometimes. All that to say, some of these positions are going to work better than others, depending on where that augmented second lies. Alright, so the exercise today is more beginner friendly as I mentioned, but I'm still going to give you a few different levels so that you can kind of work up to something regardless of where you're at. So the base level of today's exercise is going to be doing one of your scales just on one string. So let's take our harmonic minor, and maybe we'll just do C harmonic minor today, and we're going to do it on a single string. So I'm going to start on string 2 here, starting on the root on fret 1, and play the harmonic minor scale as high as I feel comfortable doing it, really. And then I'll descend. And that's it for this first level of the exercise. So what is the point of this, you might be asking? Well, a lot of times we think positionally. We think in shapes that move kind of this way across the neck, and we fail to connect our neck horizontally. So how do we actually connect between positions? So by knowing the scale and how it moves across individual strings, we can hopefully start to build some of those connective tissues between positions. So when working on this exercise in particular, feel free to use one finger like I did. This is a nice way to slow yourself down, and it's a nice way if you're trying to learn the notes. So you can say the notes out loud or say them in your head if you're trying to learn them. So C, D, E flat, F, G, A flat, B, C. I find this particularly useful for learning the notes on the lowest 2 strings, so the strings I'm most unfamiliar with, because I switched to 8-string later in my life. So if I was doing G harmonic minor, maybe on string 8, I would start here on fret 1 and say the notes like this. G, A, B flat, C, D, E flat, F sharp, G. If you don't want to work on the note names, or you don't need to, then you don't have to use just one finger when you do these on one string. You can use multiple. And I find that this is a little bit more realistic in how we approach position shifts when we're actually playing. Usually we'll hit the top of our range with a finger, and then we have to jump our whole hand up to the new position. So this can be a very useful way to do it to practice these shifts. So that might look something like this. The next level of this exercise you can do is to ascend on one string and then descend on an adjacent string. So you can do the same iterations that we did before using multiple fingers or a single finger and saying the note names, but whatever way you choose to do it, it will look something like this. So I'll ascend on string 2. And wherever you stop, you're going to move to one string adjacent. So I'm going to move down to string 3 in this case. And you want to find the note that's on the closest fret. So it won't always be on the same fret, but in this case it is. So I can move from fret 20 up to fret 20 on string 3, and then descend the scale from whatever note I started on there. Go as low as you can, and then switch strings again. I'm going to stop here and switch strings down to string 5. So on and so on. Level 3 to this exercise is to play your scale that you're working on every string, starting on the lowest note. So this will force you to identify the lowest note in each scale and where it falls on each string. So let's pick a different scale this time, maybe F harmonic minor. So if I was to do this on string 1, my lowest note, you would think, is F on the root, but it's actually open E, because that's the 7th of the scale. So I would then do that scale up and down, get back to the beginning, my open E, move to string 2, and find the lowest note, which in this case is going to be C, the 5th. The lowest note on string 3 is going to be G, the 2nd. The lowest note on string 4 is going to be E, the 7th again. String 5 is going to be B flat, the 4th. String 6 is going to be E, again, open string. On string 7, our lowest note is going to be C, just like it was on string 2. And on string 8, our lowest one, our lowest frequency is going to be G, the 2nd. So this gets us out of that mindset of always starting on the root when you have to start from notes other than the root on these different strings. So there's one more level to all this that I want to give for those people who are a little bit more advanced maybe in their theory knowledge, and that's going to be doing one scale on one string through the circle of fifths. You know how much I love my circle of fifths. So for an example, I'm not going to do the whole thing, but just to demo it, we're going to start maybe on C. But again, pick other things than C, because we don't always want to develop like a C-centric brain. But just for sake of example, we're going to be at C here. I'm going to do my C harmonic minor. And then next in the circle of fifths is going to be F harmonic minor. So I'm starting again at the lowest note I possibly can, kind of like in exercise 3, and then just going from there. Starting the lowest note next in the circle of fifths is going to be B flat harmonic minor. I'm already on the 2nd of the scale. Next circle of fifths is going to be E flat harmonic minor, and the lowest note is going to be open B or C flat, and so on and so on and so on. So I'm going through the entire 12 keys through the circle of fifths on one string, practicing one scale. So this will really help develop your ear for hearing the scale. It'll help develop what notes are in the scales, as you have to identify the lowest frequency that's available to you. And it will help develop those horizontal connective tissues between positions. And that's it for today's video. Hopefully these documents can be of use to you, if not today, then maybe next week or in a month or in a year, or whenever you decide to work on these scales. And hopefully the exercise I gave you will give you some ideas on how to figure out some things that are giving you troubles on the guitar. Remember, if you want to show some love for what I'm doing on this channel, you can support me by buying me a coffee down at the link below, or purchase any of the PDFs that I make for you guys for free. Or if you'd like an online lesson to get some one-on-one feedback on how you're doing on guitar, those are also available down in the description below. And with that said, I hope you have a great rest of your day wherever you are, and as always, happy practicing.